Hi everybody, Sunday. Not a lot of gap between the last one and this one, so we're back for another roundtable. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about resilience and mental health, and how creativity can assist you with all of that sort of stuff. We've got Malcolm with us. He'll be here shortly. He's not here yet. Sorry, I'm just a hair floating, which is quite annoying. And we have got a couple other guests, some friends of mine that are going to pop in, and we're going to have just a chat basically about mental health generally, and all that sort of stuff. Now, I have to pre-warn you that this is a part of the roundtable for the Rise build. However, there will be some other health related streams coming potentially before the end of the year. They're just being organised, where we're going to dig a little bit deeper into men's health. And I say men's health because it's just an easy way of explaining it, but clearly it's not just men, because ladies and illnesses don't really care about the gender. So anyway, enough of that. If you're in the chat, thank you for being with us. Remember, as always, if you've got a question, put a Q in front of what you say, pop a comment up, and I will get to the questions as and when I can. So let's introduce who we have here with us. We'll first start with the wonderful Derek. Hi, Derek. How are you?
I'm really fine. How are you guys?
There we go. Cool. Yeah, no, good. So, Derek, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you think it is I dragged you here?
Well, former armed forces, as quite a lot of people know. I'm a veteran from the Navy. I've had lots of issues with my mental health, notwithstanding the fact I suffered a stroke not long after I left the Navy, and that was quite catastrophic in a lot of ways. I recovered from it, but I hadn't done model making for quite a long time. Kept my sponsor, thought it'd be really good.
Derek, you're dropping out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I couldn't comprehend things together, myself out, and then I got involved with Model for Heroes some time later. I think it must have been about 6 years, and I realised that I found my vocation in life being with other people that have been through the inverted commas the wars have been in the armed forces, and the challenges when you've actually left and trying to deal with civilian life and dealing with just people in general, and also get big issues with like how to do things that the average civilian would just take for granted. You know, it really got to me. People laughed at me because I didn't know how to fill in a prescription form, because I'd never had to do that in my life. You know, it's just silly little things. But anyway, moving on. What I found with working with Model for Heroes is that I quite enjoyed all the people about COVID and doing these sort of things. Started getting more with things like other shows we donate and create, which I really donate. Really floats my boat. Being able to pass on to people. Not on Zoom, but at the moment I seem to struggle to find the time, and I know that sounds really bad because I'm retired. But I'm actually feel that I'm busier now than when I was working. But I think I was invited on here because I've got lots of things that have gone on in my life, and I can probably put a positive aspect on things that, you know, within our community that can turn around a little.
Yeah, spot on. You know, that's part of the reason why I pulled you on here, because obviously I'm a volunteer for the same charity, Models for Heroes, and we've met through that, and I certainly think there's a positiveness that you could put onto this conversation that we're about to have. So Malcolm is on his way, as I said, and I'm about to add Sasha, and there she is. Hi, Sasha. How are you?
Yes, I'm okay, thank you. I dropped out for a second there. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to be there. So yes, Sasha, I have been in the RAF since I was 17. Well, 16 and a half, just turning 17. Still in now, so 22 and a half years later. I got into mental health first aid and teaching mental health first aid in 2015. And I was very lucky shortly after that to get involved with Models for Heroes, which is how I met you lovely people. But I am extremely passionate about mental health and resilience, stress management, all that sort of stuff. I teach it regularly, and it's something that I deliver a lot about in the military and in civilian life as well. And I train all the volunteers for Models for Heroes, which is great. I get to meet lots of wonderful people. But for me, things like this, if it just affects one person, I think that is absolutely incredible. So obviously you lent out and offered for me to come on, and I'm more than happy to be involved and try and share anything that I've got that might be helpful or useful for anybody.
Yeah, that's exactly it in a nutshell. That's why you're here, because you are the mind of all knowledge. Talking about minds of all knowledge and being late, the wonderful Malcolm is here as well. Hello, Malcolm. You all right? And mute. Malcolm, you're mute. I did say to him earlier today, nothing could go wrong. It's all fine. It'll be fine. And
He definitely owes us all hobnobs now.
How's that?
There you
hear me
go.
now?
That's better.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. I'd like to say that I was doing something for my good mental health, and that's why I was late. But I wasn't. We were trying to work out what different billing was, billings things were, and we're trying to find some money where that's disappeared to. So, but that wasn't what we were trying to do. But hello.
So, Malcolm, I know you've been with me on these roundtables before, but in this particular instance, obviously, you're not hosting. So, can tell us a little bit. I mean, people probably know you anyway who's watching this, but I'd like to cover it anyway because it's only fair that we put you in the spotlight too.
Sure.
So, why is it I've invited you to this particular episode and not got you to do the hosting?
I guess it's because I founded and run Models for Heroes that are supporting the mental health where they can of armed forces and emergency service personnel. And by doing that, I guess I need to know a little bit about mental health myself and how to promote it. And I guess that's why you invited me on, and you don't know anyone else.
Yeah, my list of friends is very short. You're right. But that wasn't the reason. It was to do exactly what you said. Just to give an outline to the people that are watching, and I've put a couple of people. Hi, Dominic, and hi, John. Anyone else that joins us, please say hi. We will highlight it. And like I say, any questions, question mark, or whatever, pop in the chat. We'll see it. But the purpose of today is really obviously the reason I'm here and this is happening is because I am an advocate of mental health. I suffer from mental health myself. I'm a mental health first aider who works for the charity Malcolm has made and runs as a volunteer. And I recently had a couple of heart attacks and a triple bypass. And my brain has gone, my mental health has exploded in ways in which I had never thought it would. My anxiety is the most horrendous it's ever been throughout all my life. So I devised this project because I happened to mention that I like building models and I wanted to build this very small diorama, which has blossomed into a meter tall, meter wide, meter everywhere size thing that I'm going to have the pleasure of sharing with you guys. And the reason for that is because the support I got from beneficiaries and volunteers of this charity that I volunteer for blew me away. I didn't expect any assistance. I'm not forces. I've not worked in civilian services or the military. I am just a volunteer. But the family element that we have within the charity and that we're all there for everybody has really got me through some really dark moments. And I've been fairly positive throughout it. I've got to be honest. I've had a bit of a laugh about it. I've made some incredibly wonderful pictures of which you had the opportunity to put some comments on. We've done a podcast from the hospital, which I think is a first, certainly in the hospital I was in.
First and last, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we've done an awful lot. But anyway, so the reason, let's start talking about what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about resilience, creativity, and how we can use creativity in a recovery scenario. So Malcolm, I've got a question. I've got a question for everybody, and I will obviously, if you've got anything you want to chime in, please chime in at any point. Not a problem. So the first question would be to you, Malcolm, as both a model maker and a mental health first aider, how do you see model making acting as a tool for your personal resilience?
For my personal resilience, well, yeah, would be mine, wouldn't it? It's for me, it's quite important. It's pivotal, I suppose, in my. Because if my model's making not going well, it's usually because my day's not going well, or my month has not gone well, or that year has not particularly been good, and my model making can be almost reflective of that. So if I've got the spare time, or I've made time for myself, I can tell how I am, if you like, I suppose. I would like to say that it's you know, I push myself to come out to the shed and do model making when I'm feeling bad, but unfortunately I don't. I when I feel bad, I kind of pull back,
Retreat.
Retreat. That's it. Which is a bad habit to be in, but it's quite a natural thing to do. And I just. When I notice that, I'm like almost kicked out of the house into the shed, and then I'm a little bit better then. And then I can get to converse with the likes of you, and I feel better about myself. But I get to, just spend some time. I mean, it doesn't have to be model making. Model making is not a massive, the key to it. It's just doing something creative. Could be anything. Could be crocheting, or card making, or whatever it is that you do, DIY, whatever it is that you do. Is beneficial. So for me, it's quite important to be doing something other than work, other than taking the kids to school, and spending time on living and doing things that you enjoy in the world. And I think people forget to do that, and it's very easy to forget to do that because you're so busy. And the only way I'm going to fix it is by being busier. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way. But But then the time that you need to remember that is when you're really, really busy.
Yeah, definitely.
Having the space is important.
Yes.
Because then you can easily go to it. If you don't have the space, or you don't have it set up somewhere, then it's not easy to get your arse in the shed or your craft room. Having a space is very important, I think.
So that ties quite nicely. If I sort of reflect that question over to you, Sasha, we were talking just before we came on about this lovely room I've got behind me, and the fact that you've got a very small crafting area, and you're looking forward to in a year's time when that might change. You want to tell us a little bit more about that and how you use that as a resilience tool?
Yeah, so I've crafted, not model mates, much to Malcolm's dismay, for a long, long time. And to be honest, I'll turn my hand to pretty much any crafting that you can imagine. It's been really difficult for me in this house because I haven't got a craft room. But I do have to kind of make that space. So I'll be completely honest with you, my dining table doesn't really get used as a dining table an awful lot. It's usually covered in some form of crafting. At the moment, it's got resin and dried flowers and goodness knows what else all over it. I'm quite fortunate that my family are very understanding. My daughter is absolutely craft crazy, just like me. So at least that way, there's a bit of understanding. And of course, my husband's got his garage, so obviously he can't say too much either. But I think it's, like you say, it's really important to have that space. That, to me, yes, I haven't got a room, but I've got somewhere where I can create things. Because if it's not like you say, if it's not easily accessible, that can be really tough. For me, if I'm not crafting in some way, shape, or form, you can tell, definitely. So it's even if it's like a small space, just somewhere where you can do something, or finding a way that even just put it on a lap tray so you can do it in the living room whilst everyone else is watching the TV, or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a million miles away from everyone else, but somewhere where you can do something for you.
Yeah. How about yourself, Derek? You alluded to it in what you spoke about in your introduction. He's drop out? No. He was having problems with connection. So, are you there with us, Derek? How you doing? No. Are you there, Derek?
I'm going to go relocate because the signal.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No problem. Yeah, I can hear you. That's fine. You go relocate, and we will await your return, and I'll ask you that question when you come back. The joys of modern technology. Okay. It's not a problem, Derek. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So funny we should be talking about space because obviously I have a close-knit friends, and most of those friends, if I'm honest, are to do with model making and hobby, etc. But I have noticed of late, not only myself, but a lot of people are struggling with losing their mojo and all that sort of stuff. And I was talking to one of my friends only literally last night and saying that because he has a shed, he has a hobby room that's a shed. He said, I've not been down to the shed for months. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I just go in there. I just don't want to make a model. I'm not really interested. And I said, yeah, but the shed is your well-being space. You don't have to make a model. Come and just give me a shout. Come and sit and hang out and talk nonsense for 20 minutes or whatever. Or, go and watch your YouTube video or whatever in that space. And that, I think, is so important and so misunderstood as well, that for mindful well-being, you need a space, an environment in which is for that purpose. Doesn't have to be a room, doesn't have to be anything, but as long as there's something you associate with that process, that's super important. So sorry,
could be a garden.
Yeah,
I was just saying the same. Yeah, going for a walk somewhere.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat and gives you the when I talk about mindfulness and well-being, I'm talking about having that moment. The joy of a model making for me is that I'm so busy concentrating on making rivets that my brain can't think about anything else because it's just concentrating on that, which means all the problems and issues that you are dealing with day to day, most of the time not stressing you in any way because it's just functioning around you. It takes you away from that. It gives you a little bit of a respite. And that's super important.
It just gives your brain that opportunity just to shut down for a little while. Yeah. So if you're going through quite a dark time, doing anything creative or a mindful activity, as it's termed, something that takes up your whole focus, it gives your brain that chance to power down. You don't have all those multiple different thoughts going on. You don't have to think about anything, because if you do, whatever you're making probably won't go particularly well. So you do have to focus on it. And then when you come back out of that, even 5-10 minutes, come out of that, your mind is so much clearer because you've not been thinking about everything else for that 5-10 minutes. So it's really, really important.
Yeah, and the reflecting that back to you, Malcolm, the one thing which I think must be quite difficult for you is that you've made your hobby and your well-being exercise work as well. So that must be quite difficult to balance in some form as well.
Yeah, which is So we talked about why we do the podcast.
Yeah,
the Just Making Conversation podcast, because it is so so not a controlled environment. It's it's hobby, it's model making pure. You know, it's being friends and chatting about nonsense, and it's not regulated. You know, like work is. So that's a nice little space. But you're right, I don't have that. What I try and do is not do Models for Heroes work in here. Yeah. So I do occasionally have meetings in here because it's private, and if I need to talk to somebody privately at home, I can go here. But I try not to do any M4H work in here. So I haven't got whiteboards I've got whiteboards, but I haven't got stuff that's, you know, mission critical, let's say. And this is try and keep this as a hobby space. And that seems to work quite nicely. You know, trying to keep a split between the two things. It's not easy though, you know, because quite often when you get busy, you end up, you know, dragging your work everywhere and working in bed on your mobile phone, you know, writing an email and stuff. Done that many times. And you've got to try and be a bit more disciplined about and understand your own self and your own what you need. You know, because stress, you need something to de-stress. Stress is such a massive issue in the world, and I don't think people understand just how stressful life is. And how much of it a problem, and how it can be attributed to ill health, physical and mental. So having somewhere to de-stress is important. So I don't have M4H work in here so much. That's how I do it.
And that's something we've spoken about on a lot of the courses with the volunteers is I have struggled over the years where I've started creating things, and the next thing I know, people are like, can you make me one? Can you make me one? And it just becomes, the pressure around it then is completely different from when I'm making something just because I want to make it. And where I've started doing resin recently, I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, can you make me one? And I'm like, if I get around to it, yes, but I'm not promising anything, because for me, I just want to protect it. I want it to be my little bubble. But that's from experience over the years of not having that kind of barrier between my creativity and it then becoming something that is more difficult.
It is difficult. I mean, I know certainly. I mean, I've not had the pressure of building a model for somebody as a friend, bar one work colleague. And the main reason I chose to do it, because it was a bit of a challenge. It was very, very much what I don't normally do. And I had one of those epiphany moments of, oh, I could do this. That would work. And a 3D printer in a couple of hours didn't really create too much of a problem. But even with that said, there was a couple of moments where it's like, I don't know if that's going to be right. The pressure starts to build a little bit, etc. But didn't you
do that aircraft with the yellow checkers for someone else? Didn't they do it for your brother or something?
No. So you're talking about the Liberator that I just recently did in the wrong yellow several times.
I wasn't going to talk about that.
Oh, fair enough. No, that was something that I wanted to do. It was just I wanted to build a Liberator, but you know what I'm like. You know, I don't want to. Why would you paint it like everybody else? Let's do something different.
So I just thought that was someone else. That was all.
No, the joy of it was that it annoyed me and upset me so many times that I'm more than happy to donate it to my brother, who thinks it's lovely.
Gotcha.
So it's behind me. Funny enough, he may or may not get it in a few months' time, if you know what I mean. And that's got to go on a frame, and there's an idea behind how I'm going to mount it and all that sort of stuff. So that'd be quite fun to do, and hopefully it'll get to him in one piece so he can then put it on the wall and it fall down and we never talk about it again.
On that though, it's nice to build something for someone as a gift, or make something for somebody as a gift.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's what I was alluding to with my work colleague. So my work colleague, I don't know, maybe you know this or don't, but I'll try and explain it as best I can. So there is a Disney film which is about mental health in a strange and bizarre way, which is called Inside You, is it? Or Inside
Out.
Inside Out, yeah. So now my friend at work, she happens to look like sadness.
Oh.
And when I say looks like, I mean literally, if you colour her hair blue, she is sad, 100%, right? And what's even funnier is her best friend is Joy. They are like twins. They've been based off these people. So I made a 3D printed version of Sadness and Joy and put it in a box frame with some memory marbles and all that sort of stuff. And it was a delight to do because it was just so whacked out the wall over the wall. No, not something I would do.
Yeah.
And I'd had this idea. I said to her at work about it. She said, that'd be brilliant. My best friend's birthday's coming up. It's quite an important birthday. I'd love to be able to seal our friendship with this, no pressure, but that's what it's going to form. So yeah, it was brilliant to do. Would I do it again? Probably not, if I'm honest. But there was a bit of mocking, a little bit of fun involved in it, so it was okay. But Derek was there, and he's just he disappeared. Just as I'm about to click him, he's disappeared. But he will be back. I know he will be. So that gives me a perfect opportunity, though, to catch up with the chat very, very quickly. Don was saying that he made a comment about the fact that he doesn't have a particular space. And Joe here says he's not having a space. It's not having a space. It's what or desire to do something. Isolation becomes desire. Yeah, it gives you the ability to switch off. Don was saying he doesn't have a hobby room. He sits in his living room. And Malcolm said that his whole house is his hobby room. Basically, which is him and his partner. Their hobbies are all dotted around the place. And Stuart is there, and he says, "I just use the kitchen table now. I've moved from my old location, which used to have a man cave. So it's like living in a man cave. So yeah, I mean, but that's the important part to make sure most people realize is that it doesn't matter how big that space is, as long as there is something that you see as a space for your well-being, and you recognize the benefits of that. I'm a little bit concerned with Derek, but anyway, so I've lost track of
One thing about your hobby space: make sure you've got good Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah. Now we know for future.
Yes.
More importantly, you realise. So have you, either of you, I mean, this is questions to both of you, so whoever wants to answer first, really. Have you experienced a moment when the act of creating something helped you with a particular difficult time? And what did that look like for you? Who wants to take that on? Sasha?
So mine is actually very recent, which as soon as I start talking about it, I know Malcolm's going to know exactly what I'm on about. So I had major surgery 6 weeks ago, and anyone that has ever met me or knows me knows I am doing a million things at once, like all of the time. So the idea of having major surgery and being pretty much on bed rest for 2 weeks, and then 4 weeks of still being at home and still not being able to do an awful lot has been my idea of hell. I do have an anxiety disorder myself, and as we're creeping into the darker evenings and things, I also suffer with seasonal affective disorder. So I had to be very mindful of the fact that I knew there was a chance that I would struggle. So I had to proactively try and do things to make sure that it wouldn't become such a huge ordeal for me. I'm very grateful that I obviously talk about mental health and creativity to everybody enough that my gifts that people got me for saying basically get well soon were all craft related. So I have spent the last 6 weeks either doing diamond art or wreath making and various resin and goodness knows what else, pretty much anything and everything, just to keep my mind sane. The idea of sitting in front of the TV for 6 weeks just did not appeal to me. It's been and it has been really important. The days where, you know, I can feel myself struggling because I haven't seen any other adults for, you know, God knows how many days apart from my adoring husband and my daughter. It has kept me going because I can literally sit there for an hour and it's gone like that. But I feel so much better after. It's so important, but it just goes to show how much difference it does make.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to double check, Derek, your microphone's off, but you're not sure if you're with us properly or not yet. I'm gonna leave you to continue to sort that out. It will come. Malcolm, yourself.
Yeah, what was the question?
Yes, very good question to ask me indeed. So have you experienced a moment where the act of creating something has helped you through a particularly difficult time, and what did that look like?
I can't think of anything that it's helped me through a particularly difficult time. I know that people have made things that, yeah, kind of. So we had a beneficiary passed away many years ago, 5 years ago now, and part of their stash that they had of models were donated to Models for Heroes, and the volunteer pulled out a kit that I'd liked for a long time and gave it to me. And for quite a long time, for 5 years, that kit sat in my stash for unbuilt and untouched for quite a while. And when the beneficiary died, it obviously affected me. It made me very, very sad, as death does. I didn't know him as well as this other volunteer did, but still, it was beneficiary of Models for Heroes, and he was model making up until the very, very end. So I didn't want to touch that kit because I didn't think I was ready to finish it for him, if you like. It had been started, and thankfully he'd done the track, so got the hard bit out of the way, which is very kind. He held on. And then I think I just got to a point where it's like, I'm going to build it, and I don't know whether it was if I'd come to terms with this death, but I don't think I was particularly sad about it anyway. Like, it wasn't cut up or anything like that, But I just got to a point where I was like, no, I'm going to build it, and I'm very proud of it. It was the D9R bulldozer that I did with all the lights on and stuff.
Yeah,
that was his, and yeah, I'm really proud that I got it done and finished. And it's it's kind of little. It's on my shelf, and it's his, and he can come back and get it when he returns to this awful coil.
But that was partly with that build was the pressure of I could say it's my own channel, I don't care, of not cocking it up, not making a tit of yourself from the build. I know there was a little bit of that pressure with it, because I watched you do it, obviously. But also you wanted to make it tell a story as well. So you were incredibly proud in what you were doing and how you were doing things.
I wanted to I wanted to feel like it was being built for a reason, and it was. But I didn't want to grab it and go, oh, this is really fun, stick it all together, because it was quite a good model kit, quite expensive and a good manufacturer, so everything was going to fit. And it was going to be a pleasure to build, which it was. So I didn't want to enjoy it for that so much. I wanted to make something of it rather than just build it out of the box. So I guess I use that as a tool, specifically for that. Obviously, I mean, it might be worth mentioning if people are building things that are triggering for them. that might be a bad idea. Recently, we had a modelling session in Kent, and there was a company that wanted to provide some models, and we just had to do a quick check to make sure that those models that were being donated for the session weren't going to be triggering for everyone. And someone said that they saw those vehicles a long way out in the distance, and it didn't bother them. So that was okay. But yeah, we just to be careful when we're sending stuff out to who we're sending it out, that sort of thing. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. I mean, just to reflect on Sasha and your operation. So one of the things that's happened with myself is that I went into obviously hospital unaware that I was ill to start with, so it was a bit of a shock and all that sort of stuff. The thought of having an operation, open heart surgery, didn't faze me at all. My father had been through it, my mother had been through it, my uncle had been through it, and I stupidly said to the doctor, when he said, "Oh, are you worried by anything?" And I said, "No, not at all. It's it's no different. The tonsillitis says it'll be fine." And he went, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. Never had anyone say that before about open heart surgery." Yeah, okay. And boy, was he right. He never said a word. And I didn't realise for a second what any of those people went through, even though I was there around them recovering and all that sort of stuff. I just didn't understand it at all. And the thing that I found with myself, which I've managed to put a label on, whether it's right or wrong or all that, I don't know. But for me, it works in my ability to understand it. Is there something called the post-perfusion syndrome? So post-perfusion syndrome is where someone is put onto a ventilator and their heart is stopped and a machine takes over that function. And then depending on how long the operation is, etc., there seems to be, not in all people, in some people, a reaction. And that could be forgetfulness, it could be fatigue, it could be you could put it down to lots of things. But for me personally, I literally can't remember what I just said a minute ago. I write things down and I don't remember writing them down. I go and do something, I don't remember doing it. Taking my medication, which has never been an issue.
Borrow money off me.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that. I would have written it down. So, but but yeah, all that sort of stuff. And it's so soul destroying because I got no control over any of it. I've lost all my control, which then has had a knock-on effect with my confidence. My anxiety then kicks in. I'm now thinking about stuff that I really shouldn't be thinking about, and my mood changes less than a click of the fingers from okay to the world's just ended, and I'm going to kick the cat 4 times for no reason and all that sort of stuff. And basically through that process, that post-fusion syndrome, the easiest way to explain that to people is, you may or may not be aware. In fact, I'll ask you, are you aware that you have a magnetic field in your body? Are you aware of that, guys? Okay. How many magnetic fields have you got in your body?
That I don't know.
Okay. Would it surprise you if I said you've got 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
one magnetic field is in your head and the other one is in your heart.
Right.
Which one out of those 2 do you think is the stronger?
I would say your heart, because it's got friction and static and stuff.
Okay. Sasha, would you agree with that?
Oh, I don't know. I think I got the opposite.
Okay, so when I discovered this, I said that, your brain, 100%.
Yeah.
No, it is your heart. Yeah, the magnetic field that's generated from your heart is about a third or more stronger than the magnetic field from your brain, which surprised the bejesus out of me. And the best way to describe what happens is obviously you stop your heart, so a machine takes over that process. And if you know anything about magnetic fields, if you have two magnetic fields that are by each other, if you reduce the power of one, the other one will expand and become stronger. When you reintroduce that other element or increase the power, there then becomes a conflict of the magnetic fields. And that's what I experienced. That is what post perfusion syndrome is. It is the magnetic fields fighting and competing with each other as to who is the strongest and who's the best, which then just
most energy, I guess.
Which completely floors all of your abilities, logic, and all sorts of stuff. It's a lot more complicated, but that's the easiest way I can explain it to people.
Gosh.
Yeah. So for me, I've said all along, part of this project is my recovery. You see, I had a heart operation over a year ago. My heart health is wonderful. You know, it's beating away like a 17-year-old, and the testosterone and all the rest is wonderful. Whatever. Unfortunately, the rest of my body is like a 90-year-old with no energy whatsoever, and the fatigue level of someone that passed away 2 years ago. So, you know, it's not working great. So to be able to switch that stuff off and look at some plastic and glue some stuff together or whatever is really, really important to me, and how I cope with stuff. So, and the reason for doing this project. So the fact that I'm super passionate about mental health as well helps. But yeah, anyway. So with that said, I've totally lost track of where I am with my questions.
Oh.
Well, Crazy Loca's got a couple of things in chat I think you could probably talk about.
Oh, has he? Oh, do you know, I did. Where, really? Well, I didn't. Crazy Loca. Oh, why is my chat? There, my chat has died. Sorry. Right, bear with me 1 second. Yes, I'll highlight that for you, John. Thank you very much. Yellow, yeah. Crazy Locha, hi. I must say thank you so much for tuning in with us, Crazy. I have not seen you for ages. I reached out to you in email. Hope to speak to you soon, but I'm really glad you're here. So Crazy Locha said, the places my model kits are stacked, like everywhere in every room, agrees with your conversation. Dominic has a question. He says, now my question is it important to have a neat and tidy workspace? I'm not quite tidy around myself. Is that better for me? That's an interesting question. Who wants to grab that one?
Oh, go on, Malcolm.
No. I think Sasha. I'm very interested.
He pointed at you, Sasha. He was dropping you right in it.
He's pointing at me. I was like, oh. Okay, so the reason behind having it tidy that can help some people is the ability to be able to find things easily and not get frustrated when you can't find what you're looking for. Unless it falls through the floorboards, which I learned at one of the modelling sessions that we all got together to do. So realistically, if you are the type of person that likes to be very creative and is quite messy when you're making, that's not a problem. But starting off with a reasonably clean workspace is definitely the way to go. Having it in some form of organization. I'll be completely honest with you, when I'm crafting though, when I'm in the zone, it looks like a bomb's gone off. Honestly, everything's everywhere. But I always start with everything laid out so I know where it is, and it's just a case of following it through after that. But everyone's different. I know a lot of people that, you know, almost the clutter and the things around them, that's what kind of grounds them to where they are. If it was clean, it would feel very almost like a hospital kind of situation where it's not actually somewhere to go and enjoy it. It's somewhere that's just clean and tidy and neat and everything's everywhere, you know, organized and stuff. So it genuinely depends on the person. I truly believe that if you are the type of person that is a messy creative, I don't think that that's a problem.
Malcolm?
Yeah, I guess agree. recently I did a thing where I wanted a lot of beneficiaries and volunteers to send me photographs of their workspaces so I could do a collage. I haven't got around to doing it yet, but a lot of those were very messy, and a lot of those were very tidy as well. You know, I know. I think that it all depends on how you feel comfortable, and it's your space. It can be messy if it wants to be. It doesn't matter, because as long as you're happy and you can create stuff and you can be creative in that environment, then fine. If you find it being ordered and knowing where everything is, and you know where everything is and where your 6 different types of baubles and your ribbons are and all that sort of thing, then that's fine. You know, just reminded me of Friends when Monica has she have a wrapping drawer or something, wrapping paper drawer or something, and she has a ribbons drawer and all that sort of thing. She's very particular in Friends about
I
stuff.
definitely have one of those.
Yeah,
probably the most organized thing in my house.
yeah. But I mean, that's part of a hobby, isn't it? Keeping it all tidy and lined up, and you know, like I've got a paint rack. It's got colors in the right places, and that's enough for me. That's good enough for me. It doesn't have to be in color order or number order. It's on the wall, and that's where the paint is. You can see it in the mirror above my head.
There.
Oh my goodness!
So that's opposite me, and that's just where the paint is. That's it. You know, it's not like it's cleverly put there, but that's enough. I guess as long as it's you're comfortable with it, it can be anything you want. And all you need to do, modeling wise, is you need to have a little space about that big, because that's where you do all the work. As long as the space is big enough for the model you're making to sit, that's it.
See,
that's why it works.
This is a really weird. This is a really weird thing, is because most people that know me know I'm very fortunate with the room I have, so I've got the ability to do it. But I can be anal, I think would be the right phrase, about putting stuff away and all that sort of stuff. And I'd never really thought about it too much, other than that I'd like the opportunity. But I'll explain what I mean by showing you this. So this is my tweezer drawer.
Oh my word! Wow.
So that's literally my tweezer drawer, and you can see there's two missing, which is quite annoying. But it just happens one of them can go back in there because I don't need that at the moment. But
it looks like it belongs in an operation theatre.
It is, but I've got a knife drawer, I've got a tweezer drawer, and I have specifically very recently, because I used to be only my paint drawers were like that, my paintbrush drawers, of which ironically I've got 9 drawers I've got paintbrushes in, and only one of those drawers has got 3 sections of just stuff piled in it, and that's the brushes I use. All the rest I don't use because they're all laid out quite nicely, and I don't want to ruin them, which is a bit weird. But anyway,
wow.
But yeah, just recently I updated the room with some special drawers, and then I found some shadow foam, and I was just like super excited. Let's get some of that. I can really make that work. And while I'm talking to you, I just suddenly realized that when I come in here, I've got stuff strewn everywhere because there's lots going on, etc., etc. But every time I leave this room, I put my tools away.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if I've unpacked my head of all the clutter, put it where it needs to be, shut the drawer, go out the door, shut the door, and I feel better because I've dealt with it. I haven't. I've not dealt with it at all. But because I've cleaned the side, for me, that's part of the therapy of doing what I'm doing, which I hadn't thought of until Sasha was saying her thing. So thanks. I'm even more weird than I thought I was.
Not at all.
You have no idea, James. You have absolutely no idea.
I'm so naive of my own self. I know. Right, let me quickly catch up with Crazy Lectures. He says, was fortunate to have a dog that my wife left me when she passed. For the first 2 years of depression and healing, I probably wouldn't have used my voice but once a week otherwise. That pup also gave me the reason to be responsible, wake up, go outside with her, etc. Remarkable healing pets can be, indeed. He then goes on to say, I've got to also give kudos to M4H and for the modelling community for giving me a mental connection to my love of history and machines. That's what got me back into the workforce. He lastly says, the feeling of accomplishment when everything else wasn't going well was huge. M4H showed me that I wasn't alone. That's super powerful. Thank you for saying that. And again, this is another example of how M4H has been very fortunate in that it's reached across divides, not only of services, but also the world. Malcom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's he? Brazil, isn't he? Crazy.
Probably wishes he was. No, he's in the States.
Wow.
South America. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I think it is quite important to understand that for a lot of people in the military, the thing that people tend to struggle with is that we never see an end result. You're usually part of a cog in a chain and you're doing that on rinse and repeat. He's in Florida. So you don't usually get to see an end product. So things like model making or any form of creativity, being able to see something through to an end and being able to look at it and appreciate the work that's gone into it and have that finished product can actually, it's huge, because you can look at it and go, I did that, I did all of that. But for 22 years they've been in the services. They'll tell you they've been in, the army for 22 years. But when you sit them down, you say, okay, well, what did you do? They'll tell you what their job role was. They may tell you where they visited around the world, but they won't be able to put it into terms that shows just how important what they did was. But put a model in front of them and get them to finish it, and they'll be the proudest they've probably been in a long time. But they've spent 22 years in the military that they can't put into words. But it's one of those things, like I say, it's just seeing that end product and being able to do something from beginning to end. It's not just the journey as you go through making the model, it's having something at the end of it as well that's really important.
Yeah, true.
I find that a lot of our modelling sessions, talking about M4H again, but a lot of modelling sessions, they're not behind a wire because people set something up and then they get deployed and off they go, and then someone else, it's left for somebody else, and if nobody else has got that passion or time, it just stops and fizzles out, and all that effort setting it up is gone, which is a real shame because that's exactly where it needs to be. So yeah,
I've steered someone your way, Malcolm. Sorry, someone at Odium that wants to do something, so I've steered them your way.
Okay, cool.
Finally, someone at Odium, might I add.
Yeah, was that recently?
Yes, in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, all right.
So you should see something coming inbound.
Awesome.
So Joe's just saying there to Crazy that it's a common theme with depression and feeling alone, and I think with especially with we're talking about model making because obviously we do, two of us do model making, the other one is creative. The joy of interacting with people who are sharing in a creative activity online is actually not to be underestimated either, because it again gives you a connection with people in which that are not in your normal circles. You may have further connections, whether it be through military or a charity or just a subject matter. And I think that's one of the things that has surprised me the most certainly over the last 7 or 8 years. When I met Malcolm and got involved with the charity, etc., I hadn't realised quite what this hobby and the processes I'd been going through over the years and how much impact that had. So I find that it especially the more model makers you speak to, the more creative people you speak to. And the reason I say that, I can talk about people that do diamond art and do crocheting and book nooks and all that sort of stuff. It's all creative, and they all are just as surprised when I connect with someone that does the same sort of thing as them, the things in which they're actually dealing with while they're doing their hobby and not thinking about things. It's quite
That's quite inspired, isn't it?
Yeah. So what this is to both of you really. What would you say to someone who is struggling and doesn't see themselves as creative? How can they still benefit from a creative hobby like model making or other creative hobbies? Malcolm?
I think model making doesn't have to be creative. You just follow the instructions. There's nothing creative about following the instructions. If you want to start doing weathering and making it look like it was old, or making it look like it's from a different place or something, then there might be some creativity required. But if you're just following instructions and just building it and then painting it a color it tells you to, then there's no creativity. I know that some people have struggled with doing fantasy figures and painting Warhammer things because there requires a degree of creativity with the colors, and I can understand that. But with model making, you follow the instructions. You're railroaded into what you need to do. And I guess creativity could come into where like something doesn't fit together. And if something doesn't fit together, you think, oh, well, that's it. I can't do it. Or if you are creative with the way that you stick it together, like use more glue or sand it more.
Problem solver.
Yeah, is that creativity? The learning of skills, or how to be creative with how something goes together? I don't know, but you don't have to be creative at all. I don't think so.
I think in this world that we live in now, I think there's a lot of things you can do which don't necessarily rely on creativity. Like we were saying about diamond art, for example, you put it where it tells you to put it, and at the end you've got a pretty picture. The paint by numbers and things like that, it doesn't rely on that creativity from your own mind, but the act of doing it is creative. And it still gives you that pause moment. It still gives you that moment to kind of switch off. There's so many different things you can do now, even if it's just adult coloring books, for example. It doesn't necessarily require that much creativity. You've just got to pick a color to go in each little bit, and at the end there's something pretty to look at, but it may be pretty to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be pretty to everybody else. So yeah, I think there's so many options. It's about trying your hand. It could be Lego, it could be, I don't know, millions of different things you could do. It doesn't necessarily, it can be almost directed creativity. That's kind of the way to explain it.
It could be anything. I don't think creativity itself is the key. I think it's the activity is the key.
The mindful activity.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be putting up a shelf nice and straight, that could be the thing.
A bit of DIY.
Bit of DIY, yeah. Fixing something, getting the line straight on your on the lawn and that kind of stuff. All sorts of things. I don't think it has to be creativity necessarily. I thought of something. Just with model making, you're kind of recreating something, aren't you? You're recreating a machine or a moment in history, and I guess dioramas, when you're trying to sell a story, there's an element of creativity. But when you're just making the model itself, you're following. It's quite railroaded. Yeah. What about you, James?
You're following a set pattern effectively, aren't you, with a model, because you've got the instructions. It tells you what color to paint it, where to stick the items, etc., and by the end of it, it should recreate something that resembles something like the picture on the box or the picture at the end of the instructions. It's how you approach it and how you modify it, or even how you translate what that means to you as well. Because if you're someone that likes I don't know, let's say the car you're building at the moment, you're doing that for a particular project, but for someone that maybe used to love cars and have got this Chevy or something in a box, and always wanted a red Chevy, and they've decided to buy this model, and they can't drive anymore, so they're never going to own a red Chevy, but they can build that, and then they're going to get a high sheen on the paintwork, because that's how it would look when it was brand new and all that sort of stuff. That's translating that project, that yes, you're following instructions, etc., but there are adaptations or ways in which you interpret those instructions to bring out the creativity side of it. Yeah, it's what grounds you within the concept or project, and especially with you talking about adult colouring. Colouring and drawing used to be something I used to do a long time ago, but certainly, I mean, it wasn't adult colouring at that point. It was I just steal it from a young child and pretend that I was a young child.
Nothing with that.
As long as I stayed within the lines, it was fine. Otherwise, I just lose the plot. But that sort of thing is, again, you're following potentially an instruction to where the colour goes, etc. I know some of the adult ones, there are no instructions. It's just a design, and then you can do what you like with it. Which you can go.
Love the sweary ones, by the way, if you've not seen those before. The adult swearing colouring books are next level.
Well, you've got to tell me more about that. You can't just drop that as a bomb. Tell me more.
I feel like I should go and dig one out. So, oh gosh, what's the one that I had that I absolutely love? I ended up making a coaster from it. But it was something along the lines of good morning. Oh my fuck my life, I'm here again. And then underneath it said, sorry, good morning. And I was like, brilliant. Yeah. But there's a lot of sweary ones that I absolutely, it's just fun to do, isn't it? I've got them from people that when they're struggling after surgery, or if they, they're not very well or whatever, it's just a bit of fun, something to make you laugh, make it feel like it's more grown up, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And I know somebody that does the adult colouring books, and he likes, he actually likes to do pictures like, I don't know, like the constable scene of the hay cart in the middle of the stream and all that and the other. And you're like, oh, you're gonna recreate that. And when you see what he's done, he's gone for a futuristic approach where the sky's red and everything, all the plants are green. Not green, they're not green. They're like bright blues, or you know what I mean. He's got just completely like, what the hell did you do there? But it looks amazing. Because he's just like, well, it's just how I see things. Very arty. You have actually got, thank you, Malcolm, for that. Colouring for people, for cockwaddles. Yes. I've got to get one of those.
Right, that one.
I like that one. I never knew that existed. That's very straight in the
what a world we live in.
Straight in the Amazon basket, that is. And do you know, when I came to do this today, I never thought that would be part of the conversation.
Sorry.
No, you can squeeze a cockwobble in somewhere. It's always good, I guess. Let me quickly do the chat. So Joe's just saying, crazy, that seems to be the common thing. Oh yeah, we did that. Crazy said, for me, it is the paint scheme phase. My creativity loves doing something not in the instructions. Let me be individual. Talk to someone like yourself. I still do my tank commanders with a tint of Prussian blue. Interesting. And he's laughing out loud. Mine is dumb enough to show up at work again.
I like that
one. Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm gonna put that in my Amazon basket. I love that. So
about being a child,
what would you think about thinking about trying to do or trying to encourage people in a productive manner to encourage them to find a well-being exercise or a creative exercise? What would be the way in which you could cajole somebody into that? What do you think, Sasha? Any suggestions for anybody?
I think for me, if I'm going to have conversations like that, it's sitting and finding out what they've done in the past. Because like I've had many conversations with people when I've spoken to the Models for Heroes guys that had forgotten about modeling for years. Did it as a child, absolutely loved it, and then it kind of got dropped over the years. But so there might be something that when they were younger they loved doing, whether it be sketching or designing a garden. It can be anything. If you can reach back to something they've tried before that they enjoyed and just get them to do it again. If they're not particularly creative, usually I tend to try and start small. Let's be honest, everybody loves Lego. Okay,
Yeah.
that I don't think I've ever met someone that doesn't like Lego. That's usually a win. I've had many a conversation with people over a box of Lego, just making things. I can only make a house out of Lego, but I can do that with someone whilst they're making a million other things. And just trying to kind of find something that works for them, because not everything works for everybody. I've worked my way through pretty much the craft work list to find out what works for me. But just don't give up. Just give it a go. And even if I hate to give people something to write or do before and after doing something crafty, because it feels a bit like homework when you go for counselling and they say, I need you to do this homework and come back with it next week. But I think it's really important to take a note of how you feel before you start doing something like that, and then sit and think about how you feel afterwards. Now, if there's a difference between the two that is positive, then you've found something that works for you, and then you can build on that. If it's just frustrated you or whatever, then that's probably not the thing for you. So you just need to kind of find something that works.
Okay, Malcolm.
I find it interesting that Sasha said she doesn't like giving out homework, where every single session that we go to, she always gives out homework.
I did think that myself, actually, yes. The irony.
Yeah.
Bit like her t-shirt she's got on, Malcolm. I just noticed that irony as well. But anyway.
Yes. It's good. I need that one. I think it isn't. Well, I would just quickly though, when you're recording it, I think it is important to be mindful of how you were and how you are between those creative sessions, just so that you can plot whether it's working for you, and to see how strong it is working, if at all. And it does feel like homework, and it's like an extra thing I've got to do now. But I think it's important just to note it down. Like I'm keeping a diary and all that sort of thing. It's very, very useful. Not easy to do, with time and everything. But what was the question? How to get someone into do something creative who isn't?
Yeah, would you have any suggestions or thoughts on that?
So, if someone doesn't want to do it, there's no point trying. Because many times we'll have a referral in from the NHS or a therapist or someone, and they'll say, we've suggested model making, can you get in touch? So we get in touch, and they haven't got a clue why we've rung them, because they've maybe made models before or had it suggested to them, but it hasn't they'd not embraced the idea of it being useful for them. And no amount of us saying, hey, we'll send you a Spitfire, it'd be great, is going to make a difference. They have to want to do it in the first place. And when they do, they say, oh, actually, do you have any Hurricanes? Because my grandfather flew a Hurricane. It'd be nice to have a Hurricane on the shelf, actually, to show I could do it in his numbers, couldn't I? I could actually do it on a diorama and have the same thing. And I got a photograph of it. Let me go find it. And then all of a sudden, they want to build something and they want to do something, and then they get it. So you've got to try and find that little grab. But if they haven't got that, then we're just wasting our time, I suppose, and resources. But trying to find that hook is important. with model making,
Yeah.
I guess. But I guess the worst thing you can do is give up, because you definitely won't do it then, will it?
No, that's
You
true.
guarantee it won't. But yeah, trying to find something that they want to build that resonates with somebody in a different part of their life, or previous time, like you said, like before you signed up, maybe even if someone can remember what kit they built, there's a chance we'll have something very, very similar in our stock. So if someone did creative things, hobbies before, they could look into getting back into it. Yeah, but it's a hard one. It really does have to come from the person, though. Honestly, it has to come from inside. But generally, if we sit down to build a Spitfire, people absolutely love it.
I just got to highlight this. Crazy's off to go to work. You take care of yourself while you're driving around, and I will speak to you soon. Because we've not spoke for some time. So yeah, take care, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's I've had several people I've spoken to over the years where I bang on about model making as being the gift that keeps on giving and all that sort of stuff. But if it's not something that floats your boat, regardless of the subject, sometimes it's not going to be that thing. But I think something in which we've spoken about is the reflection of a mindful activity, and taking the time to reflect on what difference that made to you, positive or negative, what would to review it effectively is really, really important. And I think that's what a lot of us tend not to do, and that's maybe where we get to this I've got no mojo, what should I do moment, don't you?
Yeah. It's we don't, a lot of the time, like Malcolm saying, a lot of the time, you will go through phases where you'll do loads and loads of modeling, and then or whatever your craft is, and then you'll go, not really feeling it at the moment. But you forget how that actually really helps you, or like you say, you go, I haven't got the time or whatever. But being able to, having it written down, is being able to reflect back on how much it actually helps, and having people around you, like the good Caroline, to say, right, you need to go and do this because it helps you and I know it helps you. Off you go. If you can recognize that and you can tell people around you, they can also give you that bit of steer as well. And this is where conversations come in. Having a circle around you that actually knows that, so that they can give you that steer, is so important. I tend to kick Steve out on the motorbike every now and again, because that's, for him, that's his mindful activity. And he knows when I need to go and do some form of crafting in a corner somewhere and be left alone. So it's having your circle that can give you a kick. Definitely.
Being honest with you as well. It's important. Communication and being honest. So many times people will disappear off Zoom or not turn up to sessions, and you think, I hope they're right. Give them a buzz, and well, fine. 6 weeks later, they come back and go, I had a really shit time. It was awful. I was terrible. What? You just grab them and drag them into the session. It would have been better, and we can chat to them about it. But it's one of those things, isn't it, that we're not very good at, is doing the things that help us when we need to do them the most. And that's why you need other people around you to recognize that.
And I think steering back to model maker for a second, I think that's one of the things that's probably made the most difference to me, is that obviously it's already perceived as a go and sit in a dark room, anorak boy, and make your model sort of thing. And the fact there is this phenomenal community, whether it be face-to-face sessions or internet hangouts, or even just posting your model and going, look at my eyes that I've done on my figure. Like, they're looking in 3 different directions at once. It's great, isn't it? They are all good for you, as long as you take them with the element of understanding that you're reviewing yourself as well, because quite often those can have a negative backlash as well.
Mm.
But I think it's important because that's all part of the communication, isn't it, Sasha? Where, you know, something that when you taught us to be mental health first aiders,
Yeah.
It's not just about the conversation, is it? It's there are other skills that you need and be able to promote.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's allowing room for a conversation to be honest and open and vulnerable. And, you know, with many mindful activities, people aren't really thinking about what they're saying or whether they're being judged. And that's why I truly believe it's so important to find that activity for someone if they're struggling, because sat across the table from someone having a coffee somewhere, probably not going to open up and admit that you're struggling. But sit down together and do something where you're not sat there face to face, eye to eye, watching each other. It can allow people to be more open. But you know, I guess that's why the internet hangouts can work out for some people, because the concentration is on the model they're making, not their facial features or, you know, how they're reacting to a certain conversation. So they can be more open, they can be more themselves and not think about how they're being perceived by other people. And there's a lot to be said for it. It's that being able to be unapologetically yourself, because you're not thinking about what other people are thinking of you. It's so important. So important.
Yeah,
Definitely.
well, the good thing about doing the online sessions is you can turn your camera off and you can turn your microphone off if you want to.
Yeah,
just being in a group of people that are of a similar interest is enough for some people, you know.
Yeah.
We've got people who just kind of log on while they're eating their dinner and say hello and then log off again, you know, and that's the thing they like to do, and that's fine, you know. But I guess it is then difficult talking about that, is that, you know, you've got to remember that you're in someone else's lounge at the same time, so your behavior has to be curbed, obviously. Yeah, I agree. It's the what did I write down here? As long as you're open and honest and happy to be vulnerable and emotionally genuine, is the other thing that we like to say a lot. We're trying to have the sessions, creative sessions, to be emotionally genuine. None of this man up bullshit. Life's hard enough without that culture. So we try and promote a culture of being emotionally genuine and talking to each other about, you know, how tough life is and how stressful it is and how people are coping and how they're not. And if you just have to start the session like that, and the next 2 hours are great, because that's everyone's like, right, okay, that's how we behave here. You know, we're honest with each other, and it's quite refreshing sometimes for some people because they don't have to have a pretense, you know, of bravado and all that nonsense. I remember talking to one person who was sorry, let me just get this out of my head. I remember talking to one person who was reasonably senior in the RAF, and they said they were near our stand where we're doing the display. And I said, "Oh, hello. Oh, how you doing? I saw you looking at the Spitfires over there. You make models?" He said, "Yeah, when I was a child." You know, very dismissively. I was like, "Oh, did you enjoy it when you were a kid?" He said, "Oh yeah, I loved it." "Oh, you do it now?" So now I'm grown up now. And you could tell that he had that barrier, that he had to put that barrier down, that curtain up, to show me that he wasn't one of us and that he was somebody else. And I felt sorry for him, to be honest, because I knew that you'll get something out of it if you just drop that you know, thing. I mean, he was in uniform. Obviously, we were on his home turf as well. So perhaps if he was in his civvies and he was at a show or something, it might have been different. But yeah, it wasn't a great conversation, especially when other people are listening, you know, in the area, and thinking, "Oh, that's how you're supposed to be." You know, you're supposed to be dismissive of these things.
And this is something we struggle with in the military all the time. This, you know, our management team aren't supposed to show weakness to anyone else. So, and this isn't a thing anymore, really. We're a lot more open now, but you've still got people in the military that were in the military at the time when it was like that. So they've been brought into this group where it's not okay at all, even remotely, because how can you be in the military and be someone who struggles with their mental health? That can't be a thing. So people will become very, very guarded. But the interesting thing I always find is if I open up about my struggles, the amount of people that then start telling me about theirs is just, it blows your mind every single time. Everyone's always got a story, but you have to be the first one to kind of open up that conversation. And then it starts flowing. You can't, you struggle to finish the conversation, but it's about making that safe space, isn't it?
That's one thing I learned from you, Sasha, is you start the conversation how you want it to carry on. So you drive your bus the way you want your sessions to go. And you lead by example, which is really, really important. And these sort of cultural changes only happen from the top down, that and that's the only way. It doesn't go from the bottom up, because everyone's looking up to see how you're supposed to act. So you've got to do it from the top. So it's the bosses and the managers and the CEOs and the chairman, and those people are the ones that eventually the generations will,
we'll get there.
This is the funny thing. So I don't know if you can see that, but this is something this is something I
I love it.
Right. So if you haven't got one of these, I suggest you get them. Now, so this is it's a social. It's called my social battery, and obviously you've got a little lightning bolt you can move up and down to show where you are on that spectrum at any given moment during the day. I discovered this just after my operation, and immediately bought one because I thought they were amazing. Partly because I thought it was quite funny in the fact that I could put it in the red and everyone would look at it and go, well, I'm not talking to him. But actually, by the time I started using it properly, or using it at work, because there was a period where I wasn't at work, I was still recovering. So I wear that at work. Not that particular one, but I have a one on my lanyard. I've had it on there for over a year. And initially, people would look at it and would go, oh, yeah, that's funny. What's that? And not really say very much. But because I made a point of when someone said something about it, oh, yeah, no, this is exactly where I am at right now. And they, what do you mean? And you start the conversation. Well, I suffer from mental health. This is my way of showing you, without actually speaking, exactly where I am today. And they immediately will go, oh, does it move? Like, yeah, look. Oh, I didn't realize that.
So powerful.
And that conversation continues. So a year on, I'm now in a situation where my customers, bear in mind, I'm very customer facing in my job role. People buy train tickets for me on a daily basis or a weekly basis. I don't know them from Adam. They're going to work. The last thing they want to talk to is a fat baldy git to, who's going to overcharge them to go to work. But these people now will come to the window, and the first thing they do is look at the badge to see where I am. And if it's on a low, there are certain people that will go, return to London, please, and leave. That's the conversation.
Wow.
But there are other people who will go, your battery's very low today, you all right?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm a bit low today, but I'm coping. It's all good. How are you? And that starts the conversation. Now, these people, literally days afterwards, will come and see me. If I'm at one place for a week, will come and see me, even though they've got a weekly ticket. Will pop over. You all right? How you doing? And they're looking at your badge. They're not looking in your eyes. Looking at your badge. They check in with you. And
I love that.
I can't explain to you how powerful it is to have a stranger take a second of their time just to go, "You all right?" It's so powerful. So I wanted the company to every member of staff on the railway should have one of those, 100%. And initially, my line manager was, "Oh yeah, very good. Where did you get that from? Amazon." "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll have a look at that." Not really appeared. And then I went to a directors' meeting to try and promote mental health, etc. And I wore that and made a big point of saying about it, etc. It's been adopted. They've got like a network to do with abilities and disabilities and all that sort of thing. And it's something that they purchased. Now I'm part of that group. When I joined and saw them, I said, "Oh, you've got the badges. Well done." And they're like, "Oh yeah, and they're yeah, we're not sure they're worth it." But it starts a conversation. So I explained to them literally what I just did to you. They're rocking out all the time. In one station that I work in, about 40% of the staff have got them now. And there's a constant conversation about how are you. Everyone's checking in with each other. It's a phenomenal difference. So last week I was at a conference with my director of my company, and he came over to the table and went, "Oh, you've run out of batteries." And I sort of looked at him and went, "Oh, you mean the social battery?" "Yeah, I was gonna get one." And I was like, "You can have mine. It's fine." No, I can't. No, it's not that important. And I was like, "What do you mean it's not that important? Of course it's that important." And I said to him, literally reflected what you said, Sasha, and Malcolm, is that change will only happen from you. Everyone's looking at you. Put that badge on and make an effort every day, all the way through your working day, to change where you are on that. Let everybody know, and email me and tell me how that went for a month. Just do it for a month, write it down, drop me an email, and just tell me if it made any difference. So one person asked. So I'm hoping that's the case. But yeah, if you've not got them, get them, because they are just phenomenal.
It's just like you say, it's a conversation starter. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, well, who wants to talk about their mental health? Let's be honest. Who wants to talk about their ill health? Well, no. Generally speaking, in a working environment, most people, you and I, Sasha, are we're not normal in that respect. But most people, you say to somebody, "Oh, your colleague walks through the door and you're like, how are you?" "Yeah, no, I'm all right." That's the start of the day. Well, I don't have that relationship with the people I work with because I asked the question, and then I picked the tip up from Malcolm. Malcolm doesn't know this. I've never told him, but Malcolm will, as a friend, will ask me, "Are you all right?" And I go, yeah, I'm fine." "Are you all right, James?" He'll ask me 2 or 3 times until he's satisfied that I've answered the question properly.
Yeah.
But he does it so subtly, I don't really realise that's what he's doing. But it took me ages to realise that what he was doing, and I now use that as a tool as well. And it's that's really powerful. So
how are you doing, really?
Correct. That's what he says. That's exactly the phrase. I never remember what he said, the way he says it, but that's exactly what he says. "How you doing, really?" I generally say, "Yeah, that was a bullshit answer. What's the proper one?" So obviously we've been chatting for an hour and a half, would you believe? I just want to close things up with just a simple question as such. So if you could share one piece of advice or encouragement to anybody that's watching and they're struggling right now, what would that be, Malcolm?
Oh, wow. I would say don't give up, because it gets better. There are people out there that care. There are people on your side. There are people that will understand how hard life is, and it's very hard. This is a tough life, and as you get older, it gets harder. But you're not on your own. I think Crazy Loach has said something about that. I think, and yeah, it gets easier if you share. Trying to think one thing. Okay, one thing I've got to say. Pay attention. No, yeah, it gets easier.
Yeah.
Cool. Sasha?
So mine would always be, even if you can just find one person to talk to, just talk to one person and tell them honestly how you're feeling. They will absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, either they will help you or they'll put you in contact with people you need to get help. I've not met a single person in the whole time I've been teaching about mental health, or people I've worked with, that would honestly look someone in the eye if they said they were struggling and just walk away. So just tell one person. It doesn't have to be family and friends, because sometimes people want to put on a brave face in front of people. It could just be, some random person that's like, are you okay? Just tell somebody and get some support. There's so much support out there. That's my biggest one. There's so much support out there. Just reach out.
You're not alone. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for being with us today and having the chat.
Thank you.
Yes, you can ask a question, Malcolm.
I'm just going to link it back into what you're doing in the first place. How are you, James, going in your model that you're making that we haven't talked about really at all? In the model that you're making and this whole project that you've got going on, how is that going to reflect, or have you thought about how it's going to reflect mental health and the positivity that there is out there in terms of mental health? Are you going to have like a little stack of cards, like, this is how you get to mind, or are you going to have anything on there that is a pointer or an Easter egg or anything at all about that, or what's the plan?
So yeah, you're right. We throughout this hour and a half, we've not discussed anything about the project at all, really. And I don't know what you know, Sasha, actually. So maybe it'd be a good idea for me to very quickly run over what the project is.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a 1/35th diorama. It is a scene which is using the Akagi flight deck. So it's a Japanese aircraft carrier from World War II, which was a model kit, which you can just see here.
Many.
On my shelf, and I bought that kit because I wanted to do the kit. I then really wanted to make it a bigger project, something a little bit more special. So I decided to add, because it comes with the flight deck in the box, and the island and an aircraft, basically. So it's a big model in itself.
Yeah.
That's a part of the island, for example.
My goodness. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I decided that I wanted to add a hangar deck underneath, and then maybe another hangar deck underneath. So that then becomes a much bigger project. I then did a bit of research about the way in which the Akagi demised, and it was one single moment, one bomb that it struck the carrier deck, went into the hangar deck and exploded, and created a chain of events that basically rendered the ship junk within 24 hours and torpedoed and sent to the bottom of the sea. So with that, it's progressed from just that small project into what does it all mean. I've now devised a system that each layer will tell a different element of the story.
Okay.
Event that's historical, or my twist on it. But what I found out was that this particular event happened on a particular day and a particular time, which just so happens to be the same day and time of when I went for my heart operation.
Oh, wow.
So there's a connection, limited, but it's there. And what we've now done is I've devised a story that the top deck will obviously have figures on top of it, and things will be going on. There'll be 6 elements within each section, and on the top deck will show in some form how my heart event affected my wife and family across that deck. The middle deck, which is where the explosion happened, will be my story of my heart event from the moment of finding out to the operation to the recovery, etc. So it will cover certain things. 6 elements within that should sort of tip towards those things, and then underneath there'll be 6 elements which will basically show that the world carries on regardless of what's going on above you. So that's the story, which is a bit deep. For answering your question, this project has opened up an awful lot more than just the sheer fact that I've got to make 23,000 rivets, all that sort of stuff. It's opened up the ability to communicate with my friends that have helped me through this process, and to include them in the process. So I've got 2 people that have helped me quite a lot. Don't worry about it, it's fine, Sasha. That will help me produce bits that will go onto this model. The hope is, let me just.
There's battery dying.
Yeah, I think maybe a battery die. She might be back in a second. Let's see. But yeah, so hopefully we'll. I'm going to try my best because there's lots of figures involved in the build, and what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to get some of the people that have helped me to get involved by doing some figures, which will then go on there as well. So it seems a long time ago since you asked me that question. But the utmost answer is it's allowing me to find ways to heal. It's allowing me ways to understand what happened and processes, etc.
So you're not worried about, you haven't got a desire to show it off to other people. It's more it's a personal journey for you rather than making it into a beacon for others.
We talked about this the other day on one of the roundtables where I was asked about those 6 elements, whether I would put them somewhere so people could spot them and all that the rest. And in a way, yes, it'd be nice to do that. I don't quite know how I would achieve that, but maybe there'll be a way to do that. I'd only plan to show it at 2 shows, where I could potentially put some information that would make that helpful. And I haven't really thought about it as a beacon. I hope, don't get me wrong, I hope that people that watch these roundtables and watch the build and know a little bit about the backstory will get something from it. There's no expectation of that, but it'd be nice if they did. But yeah, I hadn't made that lofty ambition within the story. It's mainly about me and me doing that journey and putting that a little bit like I was saying earlier about when I do my model making, at the end of the session I put everything in the drawers and I've dealt with that. And that's sort of what I want to achieve by this build is I've dealt with it. I've included people that have helped me, and I've given the ability for them to be on that journey so they feel part of it. I've invested back into them. I think it's the key. But we'll see.
I think that maybe don't worry about it being a beacon and working on that. Don't worry about putting out British Heart Foundation cards and things like that, so people can get better, but just focus on it being the thing that you want it to be. And then if in the future someone says, tell me about that, and you can tell them all about it.
I think at the end of the day, like the previous build I did, where people looked at the build and it made them stop and ask questions between themselves, not to me, but between themselves. Or to say, did you see? Or this was my interpretation. That's important. That's very, very important to me. And if it just sparks a single conversation, I've achieved what I needed it to achieve. But I think because there'll be so much going on, I think there is the possibility for that all day long, not a problem. My biggest concern is that those elements because they would you can construe a thought process through each element, and it will either reflect on what I've said, or it will bring up something else, other emotion or feeling from the story of the historical thing, if it's the way you're looking at it.
Yeah.
As long as I achieve that, that's all I'm really worried about.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you'll be able to achieve that quite easily, I think, with what you're doing already.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of personal story is kind of personal to you, and other people get it, then great. If they don't, they don't. It's like you're watching any film or reading a book, isn't it? You don't know exactly what the writer was going for.
Yeah, but it's certainly like that's a really good example. Actually, a really good way of describing it. It's like any film or book. We'll watch that. That'd be all right. But at the end of that, you might come away with questions. You might give you a thirst to understand more. So you research more, or it just might give you an emotion, whether it be sad or happy, but it will give you an emotion which you walk away from. And that is pretty much what a diorama is meant to do. It's meant to make you feel something. And if you've picked up an expression from that, brilliant. But if it's made you walk away and go, I won't want to look at a 3-decked diorama of an aircraft carrier ever again in my life, then that's still a win, because it's made that reaction.
Yeah.
Anyway,
is Sasha gone for good?
Sasha has gone. I think she has run out of battery, which is a real shame. But I will catch up with her later. We've been going for longer than we said we would. So thank you very much, Malcolm. Thank you for Sasha. I do know that Derek has got technology problems that have decided that they need some not manufacturing. What was the word he used? Some maintenance all of a sudden. So thank you, Derek, for being with us. We'll get you on at another time. But for everybody that's been watching and gotten involved with the questions and all that sort of stuff, thank you very much. If you're watching this on playback, please drop a comment. Tell us if there's any thoughts you have. We'd love to. I will respond to them, basically. So please be involved. Our next roundtable will be in 2 or 3 weeks, I think it is. And like I said, this is a prelude, this conversation, to a lot more in-depth conversations coming at some point with some people that are expertise in certain health elements. Our first one will be to do with mental health and surgery. And I'll tell you more about that real soon. But anyway, thank you for being with us. Until next time. Ta-ra!
Bye-bye.
Bye.